Welcome to In All Honesty, the podcast where we get real about life and all the problems that come with it. I'm Michelle Elman, and I'm that friend who we all know is a little bit too honest. You might not come to me when you get back together with your ex, but I'll be there for you when it all goes tits up. Welcome back to In All Honesty, and this week we have a co-host.
Hello.
We have Chiara King.
Hello.
Who actually is the only reason In All Honesty has come back, because I went on her podcast earlier this year when we were both in relationships.
Yes.
And we are both single now. But she introduced me to her podcast team, who are now my podcast team, who are right behind the camera. And yeah, so we have everything to thank to Chiara. But also, we've been on similar journeys.
We have. We've done a lot of healing this year.
When we last met, we were both in relationships, and about a month after we met,
they both deteriorated into flames.
Within a week, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
It was very close timing.
Very much.
Do you want to introduce yourself? What you do?
So my name's Chiara King. I talk a lot about relationships, love, healing. I also have my own podcast, King of Hearts Pod, talking about love, relationships, dating, healing, heartbreak, just by navigating my own dating life. And
this week I want to talk about, should you share your partner online? So there's a lot of conversation around it, whether you should hard launch, soft launch.
So many opinions about this.
And also there's a lot of opinions online about it, about the right thing to do. And I actually would say that the internet says the right way to do it is the way I did it, which was I had a private, not secret.
Yes, private,
boyfriend.
Not secret. We love a bit of private, not secret.
Everyone knew I was in a relationship.
Yeah, same with me.
No one had seen his face.
Same with me.
No one knew his name.
Same with me. Same with me.
And
all they saw was a hand or a foot.
Well, yeah, I think I had a back of the head once on my birthday.
He got no back of the head. No, he got nothing. But he wanted to.
But what the internet says, wait until you have a ring on your finger. And I waited until I had a ring on my finger.
I didn't get to that point.
No.
Glad I didn't get to that point, to be honest.
Are you glad you never shared him?
Yes, I'm 100% so grateful I never shared him.
And what was your thinking about not sharing him at the time?
Something was telling me in my gut, do not share him. And also the relationship that I had before him, I'd had two relationships, public relationships before him, where I had shared them. And it just wasn't great in terms of it's not nice to share something with your audience. They get attached to that person. Then when you break up, it's kind of sad because they feel like they've broken up with them too.
Yeah.
And also now that I've grown, because before I wasn't that big, but now that I've grown to the point where I am, most guys are clout chasers. Like my ex before this one, he was a clout chaser. Like he used me for clout, basically. Like he posted me 2 weeks after we got in a relationship. And I was
with those two that you did share, how early on did you share?
I shared maybe 2.5 months later. He shared me 2 weeks into dating.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, why did you share that picture of us? He was like, oh, because I just like the picture. And I'm like, that's a bit soon, no?
Yeah.
That's a bit, and something in the back of my head was like, he is
especially with clout chasers. I think the thing about...
So now I don't, because I don't want anyone using me.
And you never will?
Never will until there's a ring on my finger, but then now I don't really know.
Well, so
because you did that, and then someone DM'd me saying he was cheating, and I don't want that. Imagine if I get engaged and then.
But surely you'd rather know.
I would way rather know.
So
I would way rather know.
My story becomes proof of sharing people,
right,
and proof of not sharing people, because people are like, well, you wouldn't have found out unless you got engaged.
Exactly.
And I nearly didn't share that engagement photo. I nearly waited until we were married. That morning, we were talking about it, and I was saying, I might just wait until, because we were going to elope this summer. So we were going to have a very short engagement. I was like, I might just wait till we get married. Imagine. I am so glad I found out. I think I would struggle to get married now without sharing a picture.
Right.
Because of my past experience.
Right. I think if I were to get into another relationship, because at this point I am in very much my healing era. Obviously, if the opportunity came along, but I would not be sharing a single thing, and no one on the internet would know I was even in a relationship, because before it was the private but not secret. But now I'm even gotten to the point where I'm not even going to share that I'm in a relationship until I get engaged.
Being in a relationship, sharing that part of it, the private not secret, I think is a respect thing. That I don't want to be putting myself out as a single woman on the internet.
Right. I don't care. I actually don't care. I would rather just everyone has this idea of she just posts dating videos about general
Your
relationship.
private life is completely private.
Completely. I am like so done with sharing my private life because at the end of the day, I'm giving this stuff out for free and I'm getting so much hate in return and so many opinions in return. Y'all don't deserve to know anymore. Y'all, you've been treating that shit real, been taking too much advantage of the situation. I've been giving you a finger and you're taking an arm. At this point now, in my life and in my career, I deserve the privacy that I need because I am done with people commenting on my love life. I get that some girls wish me the best, but most people don't wish you the best on the internet, especially me. They don't wish me the best because they don't either want me to succeed. That's jealousy. They don't like it. And then when there's a downfall, they're like, ha ha ha, told you so, and you're going to end up alone. And it's like, okay, well, you know what? Let me pull the stick out of your hand. Let me put it back in my basket. You're not getting access to my private life anymore. And don't get me wrong, I love my followers and my audience, but I've gotten to a point now where I respect my privacy so much and I want to be able to enjoy my private life without having opinions anymore. I can still talk about love and relationships.
100%.
It doesn't have to be about my own relationship.
I hear what you're saying, and what you're essentially saying is your boundaries got crossed so many times that now you're removing access, so you don't even get an opinion.
You don't even get close to even knowing about my private life anymore.
But I also think,
which is sad, but it's gotten to this point.
But I also think I hope you don't mind me saying, I feel like you've become a lightning rod for misogyny around bad dating experiences where we blame the woman. And in the world of the patriarchy, you get judged so much more for how you're being treated. And one of the things I've become very resentful this year is how the hell am I the wrong party in this when I'm the receiving end of it? I did nothing wrong. And I've had to really hold on to that. But I feel like a lot of your comment section is blaming you for not being a psychic and not being a mind reader. And essentially, you're also younger than me.
Yeah, it's like, did you not see it coming? He was a walking red flag. Did you not see it coming? And I'm like, no, I didn't see it coming. I'm a 25-year-old girl navigating this dating scene.
But you know why they're judging you, right?
No.
They're judging you because they judge themselves for the mistakes that they're making. And ultimately, 90% of people learn mistakes by doing it the hard way. And that is what 90% of people are doing in their 20s with their dating life.
Exactly, and I was just posting it. But now I've gotten so burnt from sharing my experience and from people judging me for just dating, for literally just having a dating life and navigating a dating life. And, you know, I feel like there's this whole thing on social media, you have to be a saint. Like, you know, there are these girls on social media that like are virgins, for example, and they're like, you know, glory, and everyone's like praising those girls for being virgins and for not sleeping with a guy and not going on any dates in like 2 years. And it's so extreme. And it's like, I'm on the normal side of like, you know, everyone my age is dating. Everyone in my age is going on dates. I'm not a virgin. I have had sex before. Yeah, everyone. Let's pull the cat out of the bag. That's crazy. But like, why do I have to be damned for it? Why do I have to be judged for it?
Even if we look at the virgin thing, why are you a virgin? Are you a virgin because of your religious reasons? Fine, fair enough. Are you a virgin though because you are scared of intimacy? Like that could be another reason. It's not about the surface level thing. And I think sometimes the social media gets so stuck on the surface level thing rather than looking underneath it and go, okay, but why is that the reason? If you're so scared, in the period of time when I had the least amount of sex was when I was so scared of intimacy and I was so insecure with my body that I didn't want to let anyone in or risk that. And that was no more healing than going out there and dating. Dating, at least I had to face it head on rather than staying away from it being scared. And so I think I think ultimately a lot of the judgment you've received is because people don't want to face their own shit and it's a lot easier to project it on you. Yeah. And I hope you haven't taken any of it in.
Well, I have, unfortunately. You know, people treat me as if I am not a real person. And that is why I've gotten to the point in my life where I am no longer going to be sharing my private life. So no, I won't be posting any man on social media for the foreseeable future until maybe one day I change my mind. Who knows? I haven't gotten to that point yet. But right now in this moment, ain't no way anyone's going to know if I'm in a relationship or not. I could be in a relationship right now and you're never going to know because quite simply, I've been burnt enough in social media where people have judged me to the point where it's hurt me, and to the point where I've had to put boundaries up. And now I'm like, no, you don't get access to me in that way anymore.
Do you think anyone is capable of having a healthy relationship with so many opinions involved?
Yes.
Really?
I think so. Yeah.
You think there is able to have a relationship online?
Yes. Yeah. I have friends that they are in a really amazing relationship. They're an influencer couple and they're really, really happy together. I don't know. You never know and see what happens behind closed doors.
I don't doubt that they are happy together. What I question more so is that when you're putting your relationship out there and you have so many opinions coming in your direction,
they get so much hate.
But how is that not putting a strain on your relationship?
I think they're just really, really, really strong.
Even the strongest relationship, put enough weight on it and it will crack. And I think ultimately, especially when you look at, and I don't know which couples are doing it the right way or wrong way, but more so that I think the internet's a relatively new thing and having your personal life on the internet is a relatively new thing.
I mean, they get scrutinized a lot. I mean, obviously they get so much love too, but I think, I think she's stronger than me. She's stronger than I should.
But I don't think it's a question of strength. I think it's more a question of what's healthiest for your relationship. And I think the ones that concern me most on TikTok especially are those pranks. Like, the pranks where they pretend that they're cheating and like they text them being like, come over now, she's gone. And like all of these pranks that I'm like, you're building distrust in your relationship.
Yeah, I haven't seen those.
If you don't know it, like also the element of pranks is not being able to trust the person, because if you don't know if they're joking or they're not joking
for a video
and they are entertaining, I watch them. But also I think any relationship, and I don't know the couple you're talking about, but when I look at some of these couples, those TikToks on your newsfeed which say like 3 red flags to look for. I used to watch all of them. My last relationship where he was cheating on me, he matched all of the videos where there were green flags. Like the sidewalk rule, he used to do that. Every time he walked past someone on the tube with a suitcase, he would offer to help. A woman with a pram, he would offer to help.
I mean, you can cheat and still be a good person.
And this is the thing, you can still meet this idea that we live in 2 separate categories of red flag and green flag. It's just not how the world works.
I have some red flags too. I'm sure everyone has some red flags and everyone has some green flags. Like, I also don't think everyone is perfect. I fucked up in the past.
But I also think it's this idea that we can walk through the world, and if you're able to detect red flags or green flags early enough, you either safeguard yourself against a bad relationship, or you're able to run away fast enough.
Isn't that putting like a massive pressure on relationships, like having to analyze everything and research everything, be like, is that a red flag, is that a green flag? And you could actually, people make mistakes sometimes, they maybe fuck up with something, but then instead of like communicating and be like, actually that I didn't like what you said, you're just like, oh, let me just cut that off and move on to the next person.
And this is why I think this culture is really unhealthy. You can't dissect.
It's harder than ever to date.
But also, you can't dissect humans into red and green flags. It's just that people are complex and nuanced. And as you said, as a culture, we do not have these hard conversations. And so this idea of
we don't want to. We
boundaries,
hate confrontation.
But I think this idea of boundaries has led to people thinking, oh, a boundary is see a red flag and run. No, that's a deal breaker. And red flags and deal breakers are completely different. Red flag in the world, like if you saw a red flag in the ocean, it means potential of danger. It doesn't mean confirmed danger.
That's true.
And so that's why you can see a red flag, notice it and go, hey, let me address this red flag. Let me bring this up.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't like when you did that.
Yeah.
And you know what?
They could be a good person and just be like, oh shit, I didn't know that was what potentially could trigger you. Or
I remember a first date I went on and the guy called his sister a bitch and I was like, ooh.
Or like calling the ex a psycho.
Well, yeah, but with sister, I gave it a little bit more grace because I was like, I don't
They're really close.
But also, like, if it was a brother,
I call my mum a bitch all the time. But I love her deeply though. Love you, mum.
But also sibling relationships can be difficult. But I did pay attention to it. That means I clocked the red flag and I went, I don't love the fact that you called a woman a bitch. It was your sister and you might have a difficult relationship. Let's notice that now. Let's notice if you say anything more misogynistic. That's how we should be actually operating with red flags, rather than thinking, and then also twisting the red flag and throwing it in someone's face the moment something goes wrong. Whereas like we're not psychics. All we can do is be able to handle the information that comes out when it comes out.
Exactly.
But if you're always looking for a problem or you're
going to see it,
you're going to find one.
Yeah. And also for example, for me, a red flag is when a guy talks about money too much. I had this issue recently where the guy was just kind of talking about, this costs this much money and, oh, I'm going to buy this thing, whatever. He's like, I'm going to buy this and it's this much money and I'm going to make this much money from it. And I'm like, that gives me,
overcompensating.
yeah, is this like some weird flex or something that because with my ex, he would talk about money all the time.
Well, you know why? It's because they don't feel good enough as themselves, so then they use money as a thing to overcompensate for their lack of self-esteem.
Yeah, and I haven't brought it up to him yet.
You know how I do it? I'd say, have you noticed you talk about money a lot? Just leave it open. Yeah. When you leave an open question, you let people fill in the gap.
Okay.
But if you come really pointed, then they'll either apologize or just be like, oh, like they'll move it on or they'll defend it or all of that. When you say, have you noticed you talk about money a lot? It's not attacking.
Yeah.
It's curiosity and it's leaving it open-ended. Let them fill the space.
Okay. But then I kind of need to say like, I don't really like it. How do I say that?
Let the conversation come out. I think starting it with that, like, ultimately, I agree with you. I think if anyone talks about money too much, it's because they're insecure in other areas. You're actually reminding me of a quote in my book, The Selfish Romantic. I say, like, if you don't know what you bring to the table, they tend to bring an expensive table. And it was from a date that I went on. It was a first date. Before we even went on the date, he was like, what's your favorite cuisine? I said, sushi. And he said, oh, where do you want to go? Sexy Fish, Rocker and Zuma. And for those listening who don't live in London, those are pretty much like the three most expensive in London. To me, that wasn't particularly impressive. And I actually didn't go on that date for that reason, because I was like, no, like, also
money doesn't impress me. I have money.
You know why it also didn't impress me? Because it doesn't tell me that you're investing a lot in me because I'm still a stranger. It just showed me you're willing to do that for everyone.
Let me just throw some money.
But it's non-selective, and I'm still a stranger to you, and that's how you treat a stranger. Like, yes, it's very generous, but if you were actually doing it because you're a generous person, you would have just picked one.
But also
the way that was phrased was showing off.
But people who actually have money don't want people to know that they have money.
That is also true.
For example, with me, like, I make a lot of money. Do I tell a guy how much money I'm making? Absolutely not, because I don't want him to use me for my money. Even friends, like, I don't tell them how much I make for brand deals because I don't want them to like clout chase or to like use me for anything. You know, so like the only people who know actually how much money I have in my bank account is me and my parents.
Yeah.
That's it.
But also that's boundaries. That's keeping the private things private.
Like I don't want to know. Okay, you can see that I have a nice watch, but I'm not going to tell you like how much money I made on that brand deal. Oh yeah, I'm gonna buy this house and I'm gonna make that much profit from it. No, because I don't want you to know how much money I'm making, because I don't want you to just see me for the money that I make. And if a man is saying that to me, like, oh, I bought this house and I'm gonna develop it and I'm gonna sell it for this much, I'm like, why are you telling me that? Like, what are you trying to prove?
One of the things around that as well is I'm no longer impressed by what people say they're going to do on a date. Like, you go do that. You go actually buy an apartment. You go buy go
instead
do
of
it,
talking
then
about
tell
it.
me about it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to know.
I don't even want to know actually about it. I want to know that you bought a house or whatever, but I don't really care about the numbers, to be honest, because why are you trying to prove me numbers? Like, what are you trying to show off? It's a weird flex. I think it's a really weird flex when men talk about money. Right, it's giving small dick energy, to be honest. We're not about that.
I do think it's that thing of showing off in general is a turn off for me, because it's the same way that if you are a smart person, you don't walk into the room and tell people how smart you are.
Or even how many people, like, oh yeah, I'm friends with like this person. I'm friends with that person. Oh, I've got a really funny story with James Franco. I've got a really funny story about me and Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm like,
you don't need to name drop.
Why are we name dropping here? And why? But why? No, actually, why? I want to know why.
Because you don't feel good enough. It's truly about that. I had a friend who once always mentioned the fact that her godmother's best friend wrote an episode of Friends.
Wow,
and honestly,
cool.
I heard that story so many times. And it's
how many times has he told that story to people? How draining must that be? Oh yeah, me and Leonardo DiCaprio or me and James Franco did this together. Like, cool.
Yeah, but it's about not being impressed by that. That's the part that has to be the inner work, is that when you see that as a sign of someone overcompensating.
Why don't you talk to me about like your favorite book? But that's more interesting to me, honestly.
Or someone being passionate about what they do. If you're talking to me about that house and you're saying, oh, I'm loving looking at the blueprints. Like, you can make blueprints really bloody interesting if you're actually passionate about it. That I'll care about. I will care about like what you're actually doing day
but if
to
they're
day.
saying like, oh, I have this business, then I have this company, and then I have this company, and then I have this company, and then we're investing here, and I'm doing this. And I'm like, okay.
I was talking to a guy on a dating app recently who was a plumber, and he made water filters really interesting. Like, did you know that water is cleaned by bugs eating the bacteria? I did
No.
not know this, but I was actually interested in a conversation. I mean, I didn't end up going on a date with him, but I was actually interested
that is really
in
interesting.
a conversation about water filters, and it's proof that it doesn't matter what your job is, it matters how you talk about it.
Exactly.
And it's not about what you're bringing to the table in terms of money. It's about your passion for something. What was attractive about that conversation was he was genuinely so passionate about it that I got interested about water filters.
That's
I
really
now know a lot
interesting.
about water filters.
That's great. I love that for you.
So in terms of boundaries and how much you share online, I also think it extends to friends.
Yeah.
Of like, how much do you believe you should share about your romantic relationship with your friends? Because I actually think going forward, I was
I'm
very
quite selective.
Yes.
I'm quite selective
Because
about
I also
what I
think
say.
you don't want to be the entertainment for your friendship group.
Exactly. And if something is really good, don't share it with everyone. As much as I've had a conversation with my mom about this, and she was like, don't share everything about your love life, especially if you really like them, with your friends, because no matter how much they can care about you and love you and cherish you, natural jealousy is a thing.
I don't think it's just that, though. I think more so that if you especially are going to your friends talking about the negative stuff, your friends don't have the whole context. So when you're telling them about the bad things, they often can also, like, they will take your side. They will not forget it. Even if you're able to heal and repair.
Parents. For my parents, that's what I do with my parents. Not with my friends, but mainly with my mom. Like, I never say bad things about guys with my mom because she will always remember it.
But I also think you have to be able to learn how to heal with the person that you have an issue with. And if you're talking to other people around it, they don't have the context of that situation.
No.
You're the only person who has the full context. And that's where I think, not just online, but it's also that thing of, the more unhappy you are, the more you tend to tell your friends how amazing your relationship is. And
exactly the same with social media. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm doing so well. It's like, are you though?
Well, it's those beautiful montages. You know, those montages people make for their anniversaries. I'm like, and how many times are you going to include the fights that you had this year?
But I've seen it firsthand, where the people that are sharing the most about how amazing their partners are the ones that are cheating. Just saying.
Well, the ones who didn't share anything at all. That also happens.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think, my friends who are the most private about the relationships actually have the happiest relationships, to be honest.
Yeah. The thing is, as much as my story obviously went wrong, I actually think I did it the right way.
Well, yeah.
And I think
everything happens for a reason. Everything happens in your favor.
But I think going forward, I'd probably do a very similar thing. I probably would keep it very private, and then I would share. The funny thing about sharing that engagement photo is that was the only time I was going to share him. I was never going to start posting about him regularly. It was just, the reason why I posted that photo was actually because the curiosity around my boyfriend was starting to annoy me. And if you Googled my name, Michelle Elman boyfriend came up higher than Michelle Elman books. And that started really pissing me off. So
but that's with everyone. Even same with me. If it's Chiara King ex-boyfriend, Chiara King boyfriend, Chiara King this, Chiara King that.
Well,
never Chiara King.
Michelle Elman fiance.
Chiara King is now single and not telling you anything about it.
But isn't it really sad that the first thing that the world wants to know about
because
a woman,
everyone loves gossip.
No, but it's also patriarchy. That the first thing is your sign of worth is whether you have a partner or not. Not that, like, I could put the fact that I did a TED talk, that I have 5 books to my name, all of this stuff.
Unfortunately, I care, but the internet doesn't. The internet wants to know about your cheating story. That's it. Because people, this is human nature. In the Roman Empire, people would come together to gossip about the neighbors and the friends and the boyfriends. They didn't really care about the books they were reading.
Yeah.
Because we are very simple creatures at the end of the day. And we do love a gossip.
Well, I'm still going to keep powering ahead and make it about my accomplishments from now on. And you should too.
Yeah.
Because you have many accomplishments to your name. So we end every episode with something we are learning at the moment. Do you want to share something?
Yes, I do. I, at the moment, am learning about how not to run away from something that potentially could be good because of fear of rejection.
That's really powerful, especially after your year.
Yeah. Like, I think I now have so much fear instilled in me, and also fear of rejection as well, which has always been there from insecurity.
Yeah.
And, before when they would say one thing wrong, I would just be like, okay, done now. Fuck you. I'm going to go on to the next person because that's just all, that's messed up now.
Yeah.
Instead, now I'm trying to actually, let me communicate how I feel and see maybe they didn't mean that.
And people
And
can
give
really
people a chance.
And people can really show up in a vulnerable conversation and impress you.
So, but it's hard for me because that means me having to reach out and be vulnerable, which is scary because, again, the fear of rejection.
Yeah. The thing I'm learning at the moment is that you can change your mind. I think when you go through such a period of transition, like I almost don't recognize myself this year, like because I've just gone through so much change. And it's about taking that moment to like let that change settle. And actually you don't need to know who you are, which is so funny because when I was diagnosed with PTSD when I was 21 years old because of my surgeries, the day before I went into therapy for the first time, my greatest fear was like, but who am I? Will I still be me? And it's realizing that me is not this constant. It is forever changing.
Yeah, nothing in life is permanent ever. That's the one thing we can be so sure of in life. It's never permanent. Everything is temporary.
Yeah, I think we are proof of that.
We are. Exactly. In the last 7 months, Jesus Christ, freaking 360 turn on its head in the best way.
Yes. Well, in a year from now, we're going to look back at this year and be very grateful what happened to us.
Absolutely.
Where can everyone find you?
TikTok, Instagram, it's Chiara King, Chiara and King. And then obviously King of Hearts podcast.
It's an amazing podcast. If you like relationships, dating, that is the one that you want to be listening to.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me. Yay.